Okay, we're going to get started. Again, thank you very much for coming. I am very, very honored to be here today to monitor this session. This is the storytelling session. And this is the Migration Summit 2022, which is organized by the MIT Refugee Action Hub, Namal Karam Foundation, and the MIT Abdul Laif Jamil World Education Lab. It's a month-long global convening designed to build bridges between diverse communities and displaced learners, universities, companies, nonprofits, and NGOs, social enterprises, foundations, philanthropists, researchers, policymakers, employers, and governments around the key challenges and opportunities for refugee and migrant communities. The Migration Summit in April 2022 will explore this year's theme, education and workforce development and displacement, through virtual and in-person events hosted by participating partners around the world. I'm particularly thrilled to be monitoring this particular event because it centers around storytelling and it centers around the actual experience of the refugee, which I think is really a wonderful and often missing from efforts, of all of the NGOs and partners that often are trying very hard to help, but sometimes their voice is missing, the refugee voice is missing. So I am going to start with, we have three incredible people today who are going to tell their story. Really, it was such an honor to have these stories shared with me, and I'm actually really excited that you get to hear them today. Our first speaker will be Ayuk Peterkings Ayuk. He's a Cameroonian refugee, an accountant and a humanitarian living and working in Adagam refugee settlement, Ogoja, Cross River State of Nigeria. He's the founder and president of Help the Less Privileged association of over 400 refugees in Nigeria, with a focus on skills acquisition, livelihood opportunities, education, financial inclusion, peace building, and climate change. He has worked with CUSO International as a livelihood and VSLA Village Savings and Loans Association field officer between February 2020 and February 2022. He was has a tertiary education, and he was the coordinator and advocate in Adagam refugee settlement in 2019 and 2020, and invested much energy and time trying to make sure that tertiary education for Cameroonian refugees in Nigeria is supported by UNHCR by coordinating the tertiary level student and organizing a meeting with the country representative of UNHCR to deliberate on tertiary education until Daffy scholarship was brought to Cross River, Benue, and other states of Nigeria and Ogoja, to be precise. He also has been giving private lessons to some high school students and has helped many, including some present Daffy students, to secure admissions into tertiary institutions. He's an executive member of the Global Forum for the Defense of Human Rights Association, which is an association that advocates for the rights of refugees in Nigeria. And he is a member of the SGBV committee organized by Caritas, a UNHCR partner in charge of protection in Cross River State of Nigeria. So I could not have a more glowing bio. And with this, I'm going to give you Ayuk Peterkings. Ayuk, if you could unmute and start your story, we would be very grateful. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Ayuk Peterkings Ayuk. I'm a Cameroonian refugee living in Adagam refugee settlement in Ogoja, Cross River State of Nigeria. I think because of time constraint, I will not go into more of introducing myself, but I will just go straight to some important stories. Prior to 2019, there was no provision and support for tertiary education for Cameroonian refugees in Nigeria. And I, as an advocate for tertiary education, I had to meet with Caritas, an NGO that is partnering with UNHCR in charge of protection and education. And Caritas made me to understand clearly that there is no provision or support for tertiary education for Cameroonian refugees, that their limit is on primary and secondary education. had to advocate because I knew and I know the importance of education, and I know that all the sustainable development goals, none of them can ever be achieved without education. I had to bring together students who are eligible for tertiary education. I have to bring them together, organize meetings, and also I organized a meeting with the country representative of UNHCR for him to look into the matter and make sure that tertiary education is supported for Cameroonian refugees. And during that meeting, we were promised by the country representative that he was going to look into it and he was going to make sure that there is a solution to that so that Cameroonian refugees can also get indulged into tertiary education. And 2 weeks after my meeting with the country representative and some other students that I gathered for the purpose of that meeting, we discovered that the meeting was fruitful because, as promised by the country representative, he stood for his words and he made it possible and made sure that tertiary education was supported from that period. That's 2 weeks after our meeting. Daffy scholarship was brought. And even when Daffy scholarship was brought, there was also a condition to it. You cannot be a beneficiary of that scholarship if you do not have an admission letter. So I had to, since it's a journey I've started already, to make sure that I complete it, I had to take some of my fellow refugees to several tertiary institutions and negotiate with them to look into their credentials, to look into their documents and see if they are eligible for studies, and then provide them with admission letters. You know, normally admission letters has a duration of time, at least 3 months, that they have to process before you get the admission letter. But because of the situation at hand with the scholarship, and there was no time, this admission was granted. Some people got the admission within 2 weeks. Some got the admission within 3 weeks maximum. And as I speak to you today, I'm so glad. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful because most students who are eligible for tertiary education studies are, in fact, are in different tertiary institutions. Not just Cameroonian refugees in Cross River State of Nigeria, but also Cameroonian refugees from other states like Benue, Taraba, and in fact, other states that act as host to Cameroonian refugees are benefiting from the support for tertiary education today as I speak to you. Apart from that, I've been giving support, you know, for students who are eligible, like for instance, students in high school who will soon be eligible for tertiary institutions, for tertiary education. I had to help them to facilitate, to give them catch-up classes, to make sure that they succeed in their exams so that they can also get registered and get admissions into tertiary institutions. On education again, let me just give a short story. During 2019, when I started my master's studies in accounting, my education was grossly disrupted. In fact, there was a twin disruption that was caused by the outbreak of COVID-19 and also by a strike a strike here in Nigeria. In fact, the whole nation, lecturers in the whole nation of Nigeria were on strike. And for about 10 months, we didn't have access to education. And because of this, after this strike was called off, and after there was a bit of relief from COVID restrictions, and when we got back into studies, programs were put in place to make sure that we are reinstated. And some of the programs that were put in place were an extension in the instructional time. You know, at first we go to school at 7, and at times we close at noon, like 12. But because of due to the fact that we have missed classes for long, they have to extend the instructional time. That made us to leave school from by 4 p.m. instead of 12 noon. Also, another program that was put in place was a catch-up program. You know, so much content was missed during this time of educational disruption. When our education was disrupted, we missed so many content. So this catch-up program was put in place to make sure that we were taught all the content that we missed. Aside education, let me talk about SGBV. As an SGBV committee member, what I do is that I fight against any act that is perpetrated against the will of our fellow Cameroonian refugees, which could be caused by maybe gender-based norms or unequal power relationship. And as a member of the Global Forum for the Defense of Human Rights Association, I have been educating our fellow Cameroonian refugees on their rights as refugees, but not forgetting to educate them on their obligations as refugees, which one of them, which is most important, is to make sure that they respect the laws of the host country, Nigeria. There are so many stories. I don't know if I have enough time. Maybe I can proceed if I have enough time. Okay, in livelihood.
Yeah, I think you have time for one more, Ayuk. One more.
Okay.
And then I have, yeah.
And in livelihood, in 2019, you know, livelihood is to make sure that refugees become self-reliant. So because of this, there were some refugees, including myself, who have already taken that path to improve on their lives and livelihood by creating businesses for themselves. I myself, I had a shop. You know, there's no light in the settlement. I had a shop, I charge phones, I sell water and soft drinks. And during this period, the security in the settlement had to mark an X on all shops that were owned by refugees, which was, and this thing had continued, it would have reduced the livelihood of our fellow refugees, because through these shops that were owned by refugees were able to take care of their own families. They were becoming more reliant, and these shops were marked to be demolished. So after the meeting I had with the country representative on education, I had to talk to him to show him shops that were marked to be demolished. And to my greatest surprise, the country representative made me to understand that he was not aware of the fact that shops that were owned by refugees were marked to be destroyed. And he promised us that it will not happen. And as I speak to you, If you come to the settlement, you will see hundreds of refugees who have become self-reliant, who own shops, who have even employed fellow refugees who are feeding their families, taking care of their families through their shops. So I am so grateful for this opportunity. Maybe because of time, I will have to stop here and give the chance to another person.
Thank you, Ayuk.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was really, you're really incredible. Those were amazing stories. I'm going to see if anybody has questions, and you can ask them in the Q&A. I'm going to ask a question while we wait to see, while we wait to see if there are any questions, Ayuk. So in your experience, I guess, if you sort of to quickly think of your experience throughout all of these organizations and from the moment you started advocating, where do you see the gaps that you think are sort of the most crucial gaps, right? Where you would really could have used some assistance and then you see that it's, often we see the assistance as possible, but it's just a matter of NGOs not communicating or people not communicating. So where do you see the gaps, and where do you think you could be most efficient to ask for help?
Okay, thank you for that. Question is very, very important, because as I speak to you, in fact, there are so many gaps, both from the partners partnering with UN and UNHCR itself, because for instance, our kids are sitting on the floor. As I speak to you, our kids are sitting on the floor to study here in the settlement. Because of their age, they can't maybe go to schools out of the settlement. They are just children. And as I speak to you, there are no benches for them to sit and study. Meanwhile, there is a partner here that is partnering with UNHCR in charge of education. That is Caritas. So I don't know how they do draw their scale of preference. How can you allow children, and it's very soon we are getting to rainy season. How can those children sit on the floor and study? Meanwhile, they have a budget. It is very simple that they can take out a token and then make sure that there is benches for those children to sit. And then looking at UNHCR, I'm grateful for their support. I'm grateful for all what they have been doing. They have been very, very great. They have been very, very great. But I think they should come to the field. That's the problem. The gap is that they don't come to the field. They don't know what is happening in the field. So I think if it's possible, because their policies here is that, I don't know, they don't employ refugees. They don't employ refugees. I don't know why, because there is no way a refugee that feels the pains of fellow refugees will be employed. I will not be able to cite those things, those things that need pertinent, those pertinent things that need attention. You see, so they need to have field officers who are familiar with the situation on ground, because I believe that the partners that they have partnered with are not giving them the right information. Yes, they're not giving them the right information, because many things are wrong, and we have partners that are in charge of those wrong things. Those things are not being taken care of. And I don't know if UN is aware or not. And I'm sure maybe UN is not aware, because if you look at the situation of that situation where they marked shops that were owned by refugees to be demolished. And when I spoke with the country representative, he told me that he was not aware. How can you? We are fighting to make sure that refugees are self-reliant. That means refugees are doing their own things that generates income for them to be able to take care of their families. That's trying to reinstate them, to make them live just as they were living in their countries. And now you come and you mark an X on their shops to destroy the shops. How do you want them to survive? Meanwhile, we are talking about self-reliance. Meanwhile, there's a partner in charge of livelihood. I worked with CUSO International for 2 years. I was in charge of livelihood. We took data, we trained our beneficiaries. I personally facilitated entrepreneurship development training. I also gave them good agricultural practices for those in crop farming. We did all these things. All these things are done for the refugees to be self-reliant. So I think, to conclude, UN have to come to the field to know what is. They should not sit up there and then they take everything from what the partners are telling them. They should always send somebody to the field to get the right information.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Thank you very much. I have one question here, which it may be a similar but answer, but Lana Cook asks, how can institutions and universities like MIT, do you think, help support community organizers like you in doing your work?
You know, actually, I think the best way to solve problems is to work with community-based organization like us, because we know the actual problem that is being faced on the ground. We know they are our brothers. The fellow refugees are our brothers. We know what is happening. We know who needs what. We know them personally. Now, when they bypass us and then they meet someone who does not know our problem, for instance, someone who wants to be empowered in fishery farming will be asked to do crop farming. That is not his choice. He should come to the field, ask for his choice. The person should be doing what the person likes so that the person will do it at the best of his or her knowledge. So I think it is better for you to partner with us directly, the refugees who own community-based organizations, because we know the problems that our fellow refugees are facing. For instance, now I have a project because in fact, the heat here has increased. As I speak to you now, most refugees do not sleep in their houses. They sleep outside. The heat, in fact, so that is why I have come up with a project to plant trees. As I speak to you, I have a project to plant trees, but the issue is that I don't have the finance. So I'm just waiting for when rain will start so that I will start the planting. I also have a project on education that will bring in more refugees, not just to formal education, but also to skills acquisition, like giving them computer studies for them to acquire skills, maybe in web designing, in fact, professional skills that they can help themselves, they can become self-reliant, they can use that skills to acquire jobs, even while they are studying, or they can even use those skills to acquire jobs and then sustain their families, so that it will also reduce the burden on the donors and also UNHCR.
Thank you, Ayuk. That was really, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. Do I see any more questions? I don't think so. Yeah, thank you. It's been an honor listening to your story. Really. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Kelly, I think you're unmuted.
I'm sorry. You'd think after 2 years, I'd remember to unmute. Thank you so much. Did you hear me say thank you, or was I muted when I was saying thank you? Thank you, Ayuk. That was really, thank you for sharing. It's really an honor to hear your stories. Really, truly. We're going now to Dr. Niall Yasri. He has about 21 years of diverse academic and industrial experiences in the area of applied electrochemistry for a sustainable environment. He received a PhD in 2001 from Brunel University in the United States, specialized in application of electrochemistry for the environmental technologies. He served as a chemistry faculty professor at the University of Aleppo in Syria for almost 12 years. He has taught and conducted research in various areas of chemistry, environmental chemistry, and sustainable energy at several different institutes in Canada, United States, and Syria. Welcome, Dr. Yasri.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kelly, for your nice introduction. I have some slide to show here in.
Yes, let me know if you have difficulty sharing your screen.
Sure. I mean, actually, I'm not in refugee status, but I've been in all this situation where is refugee has been, and working with student and working with colleague in Syria during this uprising situation. I mean, in recent 10 years almost. I have some thought and some let's say experience with refugee status in I mean, and what they are passing through during, let's say, war in war zone. Or firstly, I'd like to introduce myself. Now I am in Canada, Calgary, University of Calgary, working as research associate, and I used to be a faculty member at University of Aleppo, Syria, where the war started at 2011, and we have, I mean, no choice to stay either or leave for self for safety, and so I will have one question here. Am my voice clear now? Or yeah, I have some question. Always come to my mind. Is a refugee or is a moving body from war country, are they burden to the hosting places? It's a lot of resource, a lot of so many engineers, so many scientists, so many established scientists. It's been outside, I mean, in their country, and suddenly the war is happening and they moved. Are they, again, are they burden to the hosting university, or they are resource for them? Before I move from Syria, I have some discussion with some colleague, and they all say to me, don't go out, stay, don't, because you're going to apply for a job, you are going to be in different situation. You're going to lose your academic status, and you're going to, just because of safety. So I was like between what to do. I mean, am I going to stay as scientist, or I'm going to or shall I mean, stay in dangerous place or in a war zone? Let's have some idea about before the war, what happened. I mean, in Syria, education, it was very, I mean, I'd say it was established education. Let's say we have a population in Syria, 23 million, 8 million in education status. So it's I mean, it's a huge number. We don't have discrimination between girl and boy, or gender discrimination, or they all have a similar, let's say, similar percentage in studying. There is problem. It's not always like, I mean, perfect world. We used to deal with it. It's flavor of the life. I mean, for everywhere in country, it was slow in research. It's not like competing with let's say a Western country in research, but we are okay. I mean, we are exporting scientists to outside world from Syria, used to be. Uh, for us, we used to teach so many different, let's say, for me, I used to teach electrochemistry, teach at Aleppo University, go away from, go to another city, teach in Deir ez-Zor, where it's Euphrates River. It's nice area and very developed area. I used to teach also in Raqqa, where it's known now for everyone. It's capital for ISIS. But it's lovely city and very nice place to visit, and very soft heart people. And it was like a new university, and we used to go there to teach and return to Syria. I mean, it's 2 hours drive from Aleppo city. We used to supervise students, work very hard with them as much as we can. We are doing. And all of a sudden, the uprising started at 2011. We thought sometime it will be over, and it will have some new thing to the country, and it will give new, let's say, start for the country. And we are, I mean, for us, it's a university teacher. We are not political people. We are teaching chemistry. We are not in politics. So we are like have some hope for the future with this stuff. But it started accelerated, and so many bad news start coming. It's the picture of my university. It's this building. It's a 5-minute walk from my office. It's a residential place. It used to be for students, and now it's and later turned to a host family, because they are become like refugee, and I mean internal refugee from where is distracted places in Aleppo. They don't, their home is like distracted, and they come to stay in this resident home in university. So pumping for this place where it's full of people. This is our office, university office, where we used to work and sit. So become for us like what to do. Between was very established life, family, kids. I have triplet boys. Same age, was 5 years old when the situation started in Syria, and start thinking, what shall we do? Shall we stay? Shall we move? If we stay, we are working for university. It's a government job. It's mean we are working for the government, and and there is, I mean, opposite, if they will think about us like opposite for them and start war between us. And for us, it's, I mean, we are not political people, and I never use gun or use any, let's say, I haven't been in this situation before. So the thing now, shall we stay? Or shall we move? If we move, what will happen to our status? Is it, am I going to stay as scientist, or I'm going to stay as professor, university professor, teaching chemistry, teaching my subject? I'm going to apply for a job outside, going into the, I mean, return to the a position where let's say, began 12 years before, start looking for a job, looking for perfect life, or for, so wife, family, and all this stuff. So it's all choice, it's Peter's choice for us. So we decide to move out. I received, I mean, it's the same situation for so many different person in, I mean, in Syria. Numbers, it will not hide. I mean, anyone can Google and find how many number is moving inside Syria, outside Syria, and how much move to Lebanon and refugee crisis from Syria. I mean, it's well, I mean, documented in any other place. Anyway, but the thing between these people, it's a lot of resource. I'm talking as example from Syria, but all refugee from Uganda, from anywhere in the world, I mean, it's all resource. They are human. They are educated. They are between refugee in Syria. There are engineer, health profession, pharmacist, family doctors, and they all just run away from war. So just to find place shelter for safe. And now it's I mean, it's like they will lose their hope in their career. Okay, so this is a question now between, shall we lose our career, or shall we have safety? Which one it's I mean, which one is priority for us? Okay. I mean, for me, I used to be a supervisor. Now I'm working as supervised. Have supervisor, and I don't have budget for research. I will work. I will find a place to have a contract to work with. I'm start knocking so many doors to find a job, writing my resume. I'm 55 years old now and still looking for a job. Competing with new graduate, new PhD starting their life. I'm competing with them to find a job outside. What shall I do? Shall I return? Shall I work differently? Lose my hope in getting highly educated PhD, getting my PhD from England 20 years ago. I have I mean, I have credit for teaching. I have credit for supervising student. I have credit for publishing. I mean, in highly rated journal. I'm very glad. I'm very I'd say thank to Research Rescue Fund, which they gave me a scholarship to move from Syria and stay in Wisconsin. I worked there as in Host University, and I worked for a scientist for a year and extended for another year. I moved to Canada for I mean, for safe for my kids, for so many different reasons. So families, they all help me in here in Canada, in United States. One professor, it's I mean, when I moved from Syria, he'd drive his truck and help me with furniture. I mean, it's a lot of help, but it's still for us. I mean, I worked in research. I have very, I mean, I had a lot of publication during these 8 years, but still for me, my question, am I going to stay in education system? I have to support family, and I have to work with my, I mean, to at the end, I have to put food on the table for family. I mean, until now, I don't have established contract. I have so many friends. They moved from let's say high let's say doctor or pharmacist. They don't have a proper job. They start working anything just to put food on the table for their kids. This is in Canada and United States. I mean, I'm not saying so they are refugee, they are resource, there are a lot of I mean background studying and ended looking for a job outside, ended losing their hope in their education, and I mean, I put some challenges here in two different category. Let's say for us, we have challenge with family, with passport, with visa, with moving, with no money, moving from places where it's a war and whatever. I mean, whatever bad situation. Okay, and moving to place. I have to adjust to new science, new topic, put up a lot of used to think, let's say, learning new stuff, learning new tools, changing my rank, let's say, instead of professor in university, I'm now research associate. My global, my call for global education, for professor, for university teacher, for let's say human resources, to look at the at refugee in different way. Don't look at them in way like they are coming here to take your place or to take your position. Look at them, they are, I mean, resource for country. They are well-educated people, and they can do a lot of things and a lot of nice things. And when they are going to return, they are going to return to build their country. Let's say for Syria, who's going to build Syria again? Who's going to work in Syria? Are we going to hire professors from Western University, from US or from Canada, or from to come and teach in Syria later? This I kept it open for our community. Thank you very much for everyone to be in this room and to hear me, and hope my message it's come in the right way.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yasri. Thank you. That was very powerful, and it indeed did come in the right way. And it's a wonderful question. I think that I see a theme in sort of involving refugees and listening to refugees when it comes to creating and solutions and looking for new solutions. Does anybody have any questions? Or do you want to leave the questions for the end of the next?
Sure.
Okay, so thank you again, Dr. Yasri. I'm going to move on to, is Gentille back? Gentille Dusenge. Do any of the ladies know if, let me see. Let me check with her.
Hello.
He's back.
Yes, okay.
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
How are you?
Let me
Yeah.
introduce you, Gentille. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much for
Okay.
being here. Gentille Dusenge is a Congolese refugee who fled the Democratic Republic of the Congo in 1996 and currently lives in Rwanda with her parents, 3 sisters, and 3 brothers. Gentille is a policy and advocacy officer at Health Development Initiative, Kigali, where she works hand in hand with policymakers and other civil society organizations to advocate for key populations across the country. Additionally, she's currently a research consultant at University of Global Health Equity, where she facilitates data collection and represents the University of Global Health on site, and completed training on collaborative institutional training initiative to earn a certificate on human subjects research in 2020. Prior to that, Gentille was a community-based protection intern at UNHCR Kigali, where she worked in close cooperation with UNHCR staff and the NGO partners for the successful rollout of the refugee youth-led projects across the country. Gentille also worked as community mobilizer at Prison Fellowship while studying at the university and serving as a teacher of English as a second language in Kibiza camp. Gentille also served as University Student Association government president while she was a student. Can I say, because you don't have it here, that you were the first female Student
Yes.
Association government president ever to be elected, and presented financing the education commitment in the Global Compact on Refugees in front of an audience of over 3,000 people at the Geneva Global Refugee Forum in December 2019. Gentille earned her Bachelor of Arts in Healthcare Management with concentration in global perspectives from Southern New Hampshire University through Kepler program in 2020. She also holds an Associate's of Arts degree in Information Technology from Tumba College of Technology. Gentille earned her high school diploma in electronics computer at the École Technique in the southern province of Saint Kitio Save. She also served as teacher in English and ICT in Kibiza when she was just a high school graduate before going into university. Gentille believes in education and is looking forward to building her career in innovative humanitarian and emergency studies. Gentille loves to listen to music and stories and to read books. Thank you so much for being here, Gentille. And I will
Welcome, Kelly.
let you start your story, and let you have we'll ask questions later. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kelly, and hi, everyone.
Gentille, you're frozen. Yeah, I think she froze. Did she email her video?
We don't have a recording of Gentille.
No, she told me she was going to email it to you guys.
No, unfortunately.
Let me see if she can. All right, let's take 1 second. Let me try to WhatsApp her. Is she still there? So I have, okay, well, we're going to wait for her to try to rejoin. I actually have a Word document with her story that I'm happy to read if she doesn't, if all else fails and she cannot, we'll just give her 2 minutes and see if she can't rejoin. I'm going to, oh, here she is. You back, Gentille? Unmute.
I think my internet is better now. Can you hear me?
Yes, and I'm going to ask you a question. If before you start, is it okay if I if this happens again, if I read from your Word document that you sent me? Is that okay
Yes,
for you?
yes.
Okay, that way they can hear your story because it's really too wonderful.
Thank
Okay,
you.
go ahead.
So as I was saying, we fled the home country in 1996 when I was 2 years old, and I was with my brother, Gedeo, who was 1 year, and my two parents. So from that time on, I grew up in Kiziba refugee camp, and from there, we also, like, that's where I got my other 5 siblings. And from what I hear from my neighbors and family, my mother's and father's family were super rich and famous there in Congo before fleeing. And people still remember their wedding ceremony because it was really wonderful. So my father was a manager of a big company in DRC, and when we came to Rwanda, his diploma and credentials were banned. So he never got a chance to work and also or like getting another fit. So with so limited resources provided by UNICEF and partners, it was never enough, even though we are thankful. So my father became really sick and lost weight incredibly, and I guess it was really hard on his end. And like my mom took responsibility. So when I turned 6 years old, that's when the situation even became really worse, and my mother need to go like forth and back to find us something to put on the table. So she went far, and I had to stay with my siblings. So there were no phones, and mom used to instruct me before leaving home until we meet again. Sometimes things were really hard for me, and I felt like I need to talk to her and tell her what was happening at home. And she used to spend like a week, 3 weeks, 1 month away. So I used to go in her bed, put the blanket in my mouth, and scream to her. And that helped me. Like I talked to her and shared with her all of my wonderings, my questions. So I was the one who wanted to stay with the 4 siblings, taking care of them, cleaning the house, figuring out what to eat and what to cook, and again going to school, bringing my brothers and sisters to school was really never easy. So during the weekend again, I had to go to the woods to find those firewoods, and that would be used for cooking for 5 weekdays. And it was dangerous there because once citizen owners of the woods would catch you, they would even hurt you because of like uh, going into their properties. So I remember my siblings called me mother for a long time. I'm proud that my siblings and I were the ones to get the best scores anyways. And my family is famous for that. So I don't know even how we did that, but I'm just thankful. And we lived in that situation until I was 16. And I left the school, the camp school, when I was joining the boarding school for an upper high school. So refugees studied from the camp from nursery to the middle school. Then when you get a distinction, you were allowed to get out of the camp and join a national boarding school. So that was not for everyone because you have to be really competitive to be there. So I was sent to a boarding school in Southern Province, and that was the first time I was able to get out of the camp. And that was when I was 16. So my mother had to come back and stay home now because I was not there anymore. And this means there was no way for her to support me with school materials and visits. So I just went alone, FaceTime out of the camp, different region, different people, different everything. So I was troubled, and I realized I was different from any other at the boarding school because I was the only one to come at school weeks late because I had to take so long to be able to get some of the materials like socks, so pads, sport shoes, and everything. And it was mandatory to have all of them. So once you came with only one missing item, you were sent back to your Thelma's place and you come with a full package of the school materials. So I was always late after holidays. I was the only student who was accompanied with, who was never accompanied with a family member when I went there. So I arrived almost 1 month after the opening of the academic year. And again, I'm the only one who spent there like 3 years without anyone to visit. And I used to sleep all day on the visit day so that I did not feel even worse. And I remember going there without any pocket money to buy any cup of tea or anything because I had to eat the food provided by school. This was really not enough and it's even not healthy. Again, like the hardest part was that the bond I had created all of those years taking care of my siblings was so strong, and now I could not speak to them for months, and I didn't know how they were doing. So I couldn't take this, and this became too much. So I remember going through so much, and I remember I would be sitting in a classroom, lost, not able even to see the teacher coming and speaking to us. And this happened so many times. And I remember being somewhere else, wondering what life was like with the siblings who once used to call me mom. And one day a Caribbean teacher approached me because he believed I was smart and intelligent anyway. So I remember I never was able to talk much about why I was lagging behind, but I pledged to him that I was going to do better, and he convinced me that this was possible. I thank him. I surely did better and passed the senior six national exam, and I really got good scores. So again, I got this distinction, and I was awarded a scholarship by the government. So 1 year at the university, again, something came up. They declared that only students with economic class categorization document were eligible to receive money for tuition, for food and hostels. Again, as a refugee, I was not eligible to get such a document, so I became unclassified. I could not be given tuition, food, or lodging, so I was like in the middle of nowhere, and I wanted to study and get that degree, but it was not possible. And honestly speaking, I don't know how I survived. So instead of focusing on studies, most of my days I spend them figuring out how I would be able to eat, how I would be able to pay the hotel. We had to pay for our meals in advance. And at the end of the studies, I didn't get my degree. The university leaders told me you can only get this degree after paying the tuition fees and the hostel. So I left without getting my degree, and I was not able to use this degree applying for jobs and opportunities. And that was in 2013. In 2015, I decided to keep pushing and see if I could study something that would help me improve my situation. So that's, I love technology, and this time I wanted to be a pilot. I found a flight academy which was recruiting students who were interested in just studying this flight courses. So I was super excited. There was a flight academy from California. I found it online. So I applied, they took me. So I had to find myself a sponsor. Then I had a friend in Germany. She wanted to sponsor my 1 year training. And then I found a woman in California who was willing to host me and provide me with transportation and to and from the flight academy. I was excited. I thought my life was going to change. My family was like, I was super excited. So unfortunately, I was denied a visa, and my sponsor was discouraged, and I lost that opportunity. And I felt so bad for a long time. So I had to wait until 2017. So when I realized nothing's happening, then I decided to marry. Yeah, I entered a relationship because I was like, at least I have someone who cares for me. And again, I tried, nothing happened. So I better go, I better leave my family, because living in a refugee camp in a very small house with your parents, with your many siblings, that was even not easy for me. So I decided to go. And then I told myself at least, okay, let me go. But I pretended I was fine, but I was not fine. Yeah, I was not fine because I was like, okay, I'm now useless. I'm gonna wait for my last day because I tried. So I was kind of giving up. And fortunately, 1 month after my marriage, my father called. Hey, I know it's not cultural to leave your home right 2 days after your marriage, but I heard there is a program called Kepler that is recruiting students, refugees, anyone who is able to meet the requirements, pass their entrance and admission exam. So I believe you can do. Yeah, for me it was hard to think about school again. I told him, okay, thanks for calling, but I will think about this. Then I went there. I went there and I passed the entrance exam and I was taken. So 3 months after starting my school, I realized I was pregnant. I decided to keep moving forward though. It was really challenging. And to be able to study for that BA degree, I had to find myself a part-time job. It's called job, but they only pay you what they call an incentive. Once you are a refugee, you are just being paid 25 US dollars. It's almost nothing comparable to the prices at the market, but it helped me with the motorbike transportation to and from school. And as Kelly said, at the university, like almost 1 year at the university, I was elected as student association president, and I learned a lot as a leader. Even though they used to tell me I'm a natural leader, but I know I learned a lot. And again, I was the first female to lead the campus, as she highlighted. So in 2019, I was selected again to represent other students, refugees from Rwanda, and I presented financing the educational commitment in Global Compact on Refugees. This was in a global refugee forum that hosted over 3,000 people in Geneva. That was my first time on it. And yeah, it was amazing. I liked that. And yeah, in 2020, I graduated in healthcare management with a concentration in global perspective. So after my BA studies, I applied twice to organizations and I was rejected again because of my refugee status. But fortunately, later I was admitted at UNHCR as an intern. I worked there for 8 years. No, 8 months, sorry. And now here I am working as policy and advocacy officer at Global Health Corps. And my contract ends this July, but I hope I can find something, even though I'm looking for a master's scholarship because I want to follow my studies and open more doors. And I think I'm responsible of changing so many things for myself, my family, and my community, because people really have hope in me, and I want to take this chance of education that I got just to do that. So again, in 2020, upon my completion, myself and the other 11 committed young refugees founded a refugee youth-led organization that we called Me4You organization. And this intends to contribute in coloring like bringing opportunities for refugees and to teen mothers. And also, yeah, we are in a legalization process. So it's not yet legal, but we are working on that, even though it's hard because we are the first refugees to do something like this in Rwanda. So it's taking more time, but we are really committed and we are hopeful. And as I said, I wish I could further my studies. And here I have something I can say as a call to action. I think refugees, like, there should be a like this break of the documentation barriers to allow refugees to grab local and international opportunities. Because for me, I was given that chance to go to the flight academy, my story would be completely different today. and also to incorporate holistic approaches when it comes to supporting refugees because of mental health. Yeah, because the mental health is an issue in refugees, and this needs attention. And again, more advocacies are needed because we have got brilliant refugees who would contribute to the welfare of their own communities, families, and even at international levels if they are given opportunities. Again, to incorporate exchange programs between refugees and the rest of the world to boost confidence, critical thinking, and also innovation capabilities. Lastly, but not least, I would love to see refugees involved in all the planning, the designing, implementation, and decision making for like those programs who directly and indirectly affect them. So that's just me in summary. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Gentille. Thank you. I also want to let you all know that Gentille is speaking from a public place, so she can't, which is why she had to speak slightly softly because she doesn't have a private space to speak from. I don't know if there are any questions, but I have here because I'd love to repeat these clearly because they are really so wonderful. And I think they apply to all of the stories today. I want to repeat, if you don't mind, if you will indulge me, Gentille's call to action, because they were so succinct and really, I think they deserve to be repeated. They are to help refugees break the documentation barriers and allow refugees to grab local and international opportunities. She ponders that if the embassy had decided to let her study flight in California, her life would be much different. Second, to incorporate holistic approaches when it comes to supporting refugees, because mental health for refugees is an issue that needs attention. Thirdly, more advocacies are needed. We've got brilliant refugees who could contribute to the welfare of their own families globally and locally if they're given chances to have access to quality education, internationally and locally. Incorporate exchange programs between refugees and the rest of the world to boost their confidence, critical thinking, and innovation capabilities. And last but not least, to involve refugees and persons of concern in planning, designing, implementing, and decision-making for programs that directly and indirectly affect them. And I thought that was pretty brilliant. Thank you, Gentille, so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Wait, I muted myself. Are there any questions from anyone to any of the panelists? No? I'm looking at the chat. Thank you, Gentille. So I think we're going to conclude. I don't know if I think this concludes today's session. Am I right? Actually, I didn't. Just asking some of the organizers if I can conclude, if there are any last words anyone wants to. Yes, okay, thank you. So I want to conclude today's session. I want to thank so much again, all of our participants, Dr. Yasri and Ayuk and Gentille. They were incredible stories. I feel so very lucky that you shared them with us, and I don't know if I'm going to read out loud from the chat, but you guys can read what everybody's saying in the chat. Anyway, thank you so much. I hope you were able to be present for the rest of the month. There's a scheduled link with on the website, and I think that's it. Thank you very much.